Hi, I'm Britton LaRue, and this is Moon to Moon. Moon to Moon is a space to consider, celebrate, and share the ways we come home to ourselves, anchor through change, and uncover our power. 1 month, one phase, one loving step at a time. Hello, Moon to Moon. I'm so excited to share with you the conversation that I have today. I have been really bringing out some powerful conversations in 2025, I really have to say. Starting with Amanda Yates Garcia right there in January. Wow, that was a big one. And this one I have with you today is with another truly magnetic, brilliant powerhouse of a human being. You've probably heard of her. Her name is Ayesha Ophelia. We talk about how we connected. We connected through Instagram, which is where I connect with so many humans. And we've just championed each other's work for quite some time. And now I feel so honored that I'm going to be collaborating with Ayesha for an event coming up, which we talk about in our conversation. But I really want to make sure to highlight it here in the intro. So Ayesha, let's do Ayesha's bio. Ayesha Ophelia is a maker of portals, provocations, and possibilities. Creative through and through, she walks the edge where mysticism, artistry, and human potential meet, and helps walk the path of destiny. She serves her community as an author, speaker, guide, and dream worker. She's the founder of Humanities, an unlearning portal for those who sense there's more. Part classroom, part altar, it's a space where seekers gather to take and teach transformative classes. She's building a streaming platform, a living library of radical, soul-stirring education. Her latest creation, The New Romantics, is a sound-based divination system now available wherever books are sold. So Ayesha is putting together this symposium that's going to be happening June 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's called Wifey. And it's part online event, part ritual space, part, collective gathering. And there's going to be 16 different speakers at this event across the weekend. And I am incredibly honored to be one of those speakers. Wifey is really about becoming married to your mission, claiming your legacy, and shaping a new creative lineage. Wifey is going to be a gathering of leaders and speakers who are speaking to devotion. And devotion is really the heart word, I would say, in the conversation that I have with you today. It's a word that lights both of us up. Listeners, you know that devotion has been such a big word for me in 2025, inspired by the Hermit, and it's what was the key word leading the Magician's Table promo this year. So I feel like so much of 25 I've been leading from the spirit of devotion as it wants to move through me and be a light to others. So it was really beautiful to sit across from Ayesha and feel her own connection to this word and receive her wisdom with, through, and around it. So I'm so excited to share Ayesha's voice with you. She's a person to witness, to learn from, to celebrate aliveness with. And if you are feeling stirred, if you're feeling excited, if you're feeling curious, I hope you will follow the links in the show notes so that you can learn about Wifey, this event that I'm collaborating in. And you can also find links to connect with Ayesha on Instagram and through her website, finding out about all the different kinds of offerings that she has for this world. So thank you to Ayesha for honoring the spirit in me that is in connection with the spirit in you. Thank you for giving your time and your voice and your wisdom to Moon and Moon to Moon listeners. And thank you for putting on this incredible event. I can't wait to be a part of it. All right, enjoy. Welcome to Moon, Ayesha Ophelia. So excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited too. I can't wait to see what unfolds.
Yes, I was reflecting on how we connected, and definitely through Instagram. I feel like maybe you shared one of the Unshaming the Signs posts or something, and I was like, who's this? And then immediately started following you, and I enjoy our mutual regard and appreciation for one another there.
Yeah, same. That is the story. I think probably someone shared something of yours and it was like immediate deep resonance, and I've just enjoyed getting this like slow drip of your wisdom through, how you speak about astrology and life. And yeah, that's we Instagram. Instagram's like our little matchmaker.
Mm, that's right. A good, nice reference
Right?
considering.
But it really is. It really is. It's put me in connection with so many people that heart led people that I just, yeah, it's been such a connector. It really has.
Me too. And there's there can be a lot of frustration that we all feel with Instagram sometimes. But for the most part, I feel like, but it's also how I know so many amazing human beings. Yeah, including you. So thank you. Yeah, so recently you reached out and invited me to participate in your upcoming symposium event gathering, Wifey. And we had such a fun conversation about your dreams for this project and keywords that we're both in love with, like devotion and miracle. So I'm sure we'll talk about that today. I would love to hear some of your story though, because I don't know much about your background, and I would love to know how you came to be the person that you are today, bringing Wifey forward, holding all that you hold and do and create. And, I'm sure that's a very long story. And also just trusting that whatever aspects of it feel alive for you to share today are perfect.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I always think of when I resonate with someone's work, I'm always like, okay, like I feel your energy. How did that come to be? Like what's doing? What's in the I saw a cauldron in my mind. Yeah, good question. Okay, where to start? I've always been an extremely creative, empathetic, like sensitive child. I was always reckoning with the nature of life. My chart is very scorpionic. So there was this real, like, I asked a lot of questions when I was a kid and I wasn't satisfied with any of the answers. So I was like, no, I feel something inside of me that that maybe my parents didn't have the right words to convey. And so my life's been a lot about that journey of uncovering and becoming and questioning. And so, I used to feel like being a creative, having my head in the clouds a little bit was a negative thing. And it's really what's opened up so many doors for me. I've just been so guided by my heart center, and it's just led me into the right places and the right things. And that's part of it too. But I tell this story a lot on podcasts because I really feel like the reason that people have gotten to know me has a lot to do with my mom and unfortunately her passing. It felt very young, but it really like catapulted me onto a path. And at the time, it was about 11 years ago. That's really when I started sharing a lot of my gifts and talents online. And that's the reason that a lot of people know about the work that I do that's centered around creativity, unlearning. We'll get to the devotions and the miracles. Um, but yeah, I started sharing myself online, and I, at the time, was working for a lot of people who were Hay House authors and speakers. And so I was behind the scenes, working on social media, working on messaging, and kind of seeing how the sausage was made. It was like I had a knack for marketing, I had a knack for creativity, and I'd used it in for things and places and people that I just really didn't vibe with. And so for a while, I was like, my kind of mission was to push forward ideas. And I still work with some creative clients to like, for the kinds of things I would want to see in the world. So, thus the Hay House came in, and it's such a mixed bag to meet all of your heroes and just realize we're all just humans, and we might be mouthpieces for something, and it's not necessarily about whether we walk the talk or not. And it really is like integrity is really important, but I just learned to like take people off pedestals and be in service. And a thing I talk about often is the apprenticeship phase. And I think it's so important before we step into things that we really apprentice and we serve. And so I did that for a while. And almost every single person I worked for was like, you don't need to be you need to be doing this. Like, what, how are you behind the scenes? And so I kind of got pushed out of my little comfortable safety net and into the big wide world. And yeah, it just started kind of more fearlessly sharing myself and my creations. I work with grief, I work with dream work, a lot of the things I've been interested in. And yeah, a lot of it's through the lens of social media and Instagram, because for me, there was really something about the creative tension of the space. Like, okay, originally it was photo driven, and then it's like, okay, how do these parameters activate my creativity? What do I have to say here? What do I have to give? And after quite a few years of that, I started to become more well known in that space. And it was just for my creativity. I wasn't out front and center at that time. It was just like, who's this girl creating all this art? And people started referring to it as my work. And I really was like, wow, there's a pathway forward for a creative who doesn't work well in the 9 to 5 sort of like paradigm. And so it's a part of my liberation story. And I really talk about in Algorithm Alchemy and some of the other things that I've created about the online space, the Ethernet, if you will. And it's so like metaphysical in so many ways for me. So yeah, that's a little of the story. We can pull things out if it works, or if my chart has anything to say about it.
Yeah. Well, what moved me is hearing about your mom and the grief component there. I feel we have a connection there because I lost my dad when I was young. I was 16, and I actually feel like everything that I do is related to the life experiences that grief took me through. A lot of which I thought at the time were shameful.
Mm,
Um, Whether that was through like escapism or
just kind of losing a will to try, like the different places grief took me became all the things that were wrong with me in my mind, um, in opposition to a picture of who I thought I was supposed to be. And the unshaming process and my mystical life really helped me see kind of the other side of the story, the other side of that picture, and recognize that everything was leading to something to say and to be of service, and how to be of service. Yeah. So thank you for that connection. I feel like grief is such a connector in a way.
It really is. It's I like to call it the great connector because we're all going to experience the grief of losing someone, and grief is even a part of getting something that you desire. There's a grieving of the old version of you who was this, and then this thing came along. And so grief has really been such a transformative energy in my life. And I really felt like I'm not uniquely qualified, but I was just like, I feel like there aren't great places to grieve. There's not a lot of good conversations happening about death. It's since like the tides have shifted a bit and there's a lot more people coming forth to steward people through those kinds of things. It just going through my mom and a few deaths after that, I was like, this system needs to radically be shifted. So how can I be an agent of change, of service? Because I've found a way to move with grief. And so I did something called Big Feelings, Grief as an Ally, and we painted, we drew, we talked, we had different rituals around things that people were grieving. And some of them were relationships, some of them were family members, some of them were the person they were before the car accident. Like it really was such a deep transformative space. And I was like, oh, grief can be an ally, right? It can help shape and form who we're going to be in this moment and this next moment. So it's as tough as it is and as random as it is, yeah, it's just been such an ally.
Mm. Big Feelings. What a great name.
Right? And they like bring it all up.
And what an unshaming in the name too, because it's I feel that part of what made grief so hard and can still make grief so hard is that feeling of like we're supposed to have moved beyond the feelings. And the bigness is so big. But at the same time, in our culture, we also valorize and love things that are big. So it like turns the badness of the big feelings into something to celebrate. I love it. And that is a thing that can be associated with Scorpio. I mean, I'm looking at your chart and seeing your Virgo rising, which I do. If I had to put devotion on a sign, I would put it on Virgo. Yeah. And then, so where's your chart ruler? Mercury in Scorpio, right next to your sun. And you also have Uranus. I'm also Uranus and Scorpio generation. And your moon too. Sun and moon, both the luminaries in Scorpio. And the psychopomp Mercury walking the scorpionic walk. And it reminds me of what you were sharing about being a child and wondering about things that you hadn't been given language for yet. Yeah. I happen to have a daughter who has sun, moon, and Mercury in Scorpio as well. And she wanted to talk about such deep adult, like, how do you talk about this topic so young?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love that.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just love it. I mean, it just makes me curious. I'm like, what were some of those conversations like? And yeah, I just think back to myself as a kid, and I brought in this humor, this lightness. I used to wear all black. So the fact that I'm sitting here in this colorful space with so much color is, I don't know, a testament to like the balancing forces that I needed, because, there is I don't even call it a serious contemplation, but there's like a contemplatory, is that a word? My whole life, I've contemplated things kind of deeply and asked a lot of questions very early. And so, just saying that it's like, it's part of the blueprint, it's part of like what we're here to bring forth. And, I think, more and more parents, I think parents of my generation were my parents were great parents. They did the best that they could, but there wasn't a lot of like, I did learn a lot of things by watching them, but there wasn't a lot of support for like any psychic skills or like any sort of otherworldly things that might have come in with me. And they came in with me, but I kind of just stuffed them down because the questions I would like, I think I was tiptoeing in those questions to get to some of the bigger, like, okay, this is what's happening. Can you, help guide me? I'm getting like full body chills now, but yeah. So for me, I think that was part of the real path that I was on in my 20s and parts of my 30s, where I was really just like drinking it all in, all these different traditions, and how people mourn their dead in different places, and really just like expanding my vision to sort of satiate that desire for um, you know, again, life's big questions, but even beyond that, just like what my soul was craving to learn.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I can't help thinking about my daughter. She wanted to know where people go when they die so young, and she had these questions, and it was like, first child, I didn't know that I would have to be asked these questions and produce answers so early in my parenting. But yeah, helping her navigate that piercing, like intuitive capacity is one of the big things we both signed up for, I feel, in our relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because one of the things that one can feel when you're young and you haven't been given any language around intuition and the psychic system and the business of picking up on so much is just like this sense of like, I wish I didn't feel all this and I want the feeling to stop, I don't know if that resonates for you, but that can
I
come in too.
Yeah, that was definitely in the room, and I think creativity really is where I went to place all that
Mm.
angst or all those, unsolved mysteries. I just was so creative my whole life, and you know making up things like we do when we're kids. We're just like in we're our ability to imagine and make believe is such a gift, and for a lot of us it gets snuffed out, and we have to sort of relight that pilot light, bring our creativity back on deck, start to view ourselves differently. But that's the tether that really was firm with me. And I think it really got me through a lot. And, I don't know if my chart says this, but old soul is like, I was like the mother of the group. And I was like, for some reason, I just know that this is not going to end up that fun. And I don't want in on it, and mischief, I was all down for, like totally down for some mischief. But I felt supported in some ways, and
Mm.
creativity was one of those forces for sure.
That's so beautiful. And it probably ties you to like the devotional spirit. Um, I'm thinking about this too, that the third house where you have Scorpio in a whole sign system, which is what I use, the ancients referred to it as the house of the goddess. And the moon is in their joy in the third house where you have your moon. And I like to think of that particular aspect of the third house as the daily devotionals and like the pathway one would walk and one does walk in their daytime, like the daily routes where you might go by the temple and like say your prayers and make your offerings. Um, that third house where you have both your luminaries plus your chart ruler as being a place to really anchor you to like the devotional pathway of the mundane, like the daily. Does that
Yeah.
resonate?
Yeah, definitely. I was actually talking to someone for Wifey in these devotional sessions, which we're gonna have as well. But yeah, I've just been a devotional spirit ever since I was a child. And, in the beginning, it definitely took the shape of my parents were Seventh-day Adventists. So I was in church a lot. But the real parts that really lit me up was just like the singing and the like being in praise of like whatever it was. And so, yeah, I've always wanted to love deeply. I think that's part of the Scorpio like catness. It's like, come close, no, go away, come close, no, go away. But it's like this, there's like such a depth there that wants to be explored and found slowly over time. And so, yeah, I definitely feel like that some of those descriptions feel like me as a kid and feel like me current day as well.
Yes. Yeah. So coming to devotion, then, I'm curious what feels alive to share about this word that's captivated you.
Yeah. It's been such an interesting journey, Britton. I really feel like this often happens when you take on a project or you're like, okay, this idea landed. And for me, that's always how it is. Like the name lands, the creative lands, and then the spirit is like whoosh. And it's always like, I feel like, man, I was looking at things so tritely. And that's not the perfect word. I don't have the word for what's happened just in since we've last had a conversation. And so Gene Key 29 is a part of my makeup. Gene keys are also based on, time you were born. And the key 29 shows up 3 or 4 times, the same way as like I've got sun, moon. It's like, okay, I came here to learn really specific things. And devotion is one of them. And so in the Gene Keys, it's the journey of from half-heartedness to commitment to devotion. And so I've really been able to like parse apart that a bit more and been in like living contemplation of it. And so one of the things that I'm doing not half-heartedly is learning how to be on the slack line. And so every time I'm on it, there's so much about like full commitment and like can't look too far into the horizon or you get the wobble. So it's like, what's the next step I take? And it's really about how we're meeting the moment. And I think devotion is it's a buzzword. We're using it so much. And so for me to be invited by myself, higher self, whoever's the idea genie, who's like, let's make this happen. So to be in this like deeper contemplation, the deeper layers, it's really just like, I don't know, it's blown me away how our bodies know when something is done. So like part of this contemplation and through the lens of the Gene Keys and also just life, like the word devotion has felt alive for me even before I became this Gene Key devotee. But in the Gene Keys, there's programming partners. And so I look at like who I'm being and who I'm serving is people on the path of destiny. And I didn't even realize that until a few days ago. But Michael Meade has a lot of work on fate and destiny as programming partners, as star-crossed lovers. So often what's fated for us isn't about choice necessarily. And there's some great fated things. If your parents were great with money, maybe you're fated to like not have as much of a thing around money. So there are great fated things, but often a lot of them are things if we brought our conscious choice to and we stepped into the path of destiny, then, what would unlock? And so devotion is a part of that conversation too. I know I kind of went all over the place, but it's just really come alive for me. It's really come alive.
That is so beautiful. There's so much there. So I want to hear more about fate versus destiny. So there, you were saying Michael Meade was discussing them
Yeah,
as they're
yeah.
as distinct. Sounds like you're saying.
Yeah, as a bit of like, so when we're talking about union, when we're talking about wholeness, we're talking about, to me, the balancing, or at least the coming together of the light and the dark, and being able to be a whole person. And so fate and destiny, like we always like, oh, it's fated. This is such a great thing. It's fated. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's like you're fated to have heart disease because your mom had it. But now with epigenetics, which is choice, we know that we can unlock a whole new river of possibility that moves us into destiny. But we have to be willing to make different choices. So it's like fate guides us to a door that we can only walk through if we've brought our devotional spirit and our conscious awareness to it. Otherwise, we're kind of just like being batted around by what's fated for us. And that's not really a life at all. So yeah, that's been fascinating the last couple of years to like play with that idea, and then to be like, oh, I serve the destiny makers, the people who are bringing choice into this time when so many of us are just reacting to old storylines, old paradigms, old ways that we've shamed ourselves into these little like, I have to stay on script or I won't belong. But destiny has different plans.
Mm. My brain is exploding. I'm so happy right now. It feels like you're highlighting like devotion as like being what helps us with our choices, you know? It's
Without a doubt.
it's a path of choices that lead us into destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. It clears the screen so we can understand if we're making a decision from the voice of fear, the voice of love. I think that's the easiest way to put it, because the ego is not a bad thing. We've shamed the ego a lot, and it has a unique function. We just have to balance it like with the heart. That's more my paradigm, is that everything belongs, but when it gets out of whack is when, then it becomes this like the little demon or the little monster in the corner, but really everything belongs. So unshaming ego needs to happen. But yeah, devotion's like the primer. It's really like, um, even Richard says this. He's like, without Gene Key 29, it's like we can't step into the realm of a lot of the magic that wants to happen for us. We're just not available for it. And so devotion being this, you know, everything we're saying sounds so sexy, but devotion is like I'm showing up even when my hair's messy, my breath stinks. Like I'm showing up for the muse, and I'm saying I'm available for service. And so to me now, it's like devotion is, yes, there's devotional steps we take, but it's actually this intelligent life force that has the blueprint, the perfect blueprint for the unfolding of whatever it is. It knows when you should go and stop, and there's like a listening that's required. And unless we've been practicing with devotion, our will, our ego, some of these things that aren't bad will kind of run the show. And it's fine. It's like I really feel like we're all going to get to the place, but it's like, what kind of ride do you want to have there? It's like, even if your tire breaks down, are you going to curse God, or are you going to be like, oh, this delay was so I could da 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 da, and I'm going to live my life like that? It doesn't remove challenges. It just makes them meaningful.
It doesn't remove challenges, it makes them meaningful. This is so powerful. One of my favorite things about devotion is that it feels like for me, it has like an architecture almost, so that I can like just drop into the structure
Yeah.
of the ritual, the pacing, the steps. And then it's not a battle with myself about what to do. It's
Yeah.
just getting in and
Mm-hmm.
going with it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's the surrender piece. And so the human design's a part of the gene keys. And I hate to keep coming back to this, but
I love it.
it's the perfect story. And as you like, I just geek out. And so gene key 29 in the I Ching is called the abysmal. And there's like some folklore with the abysmal because it's about basically jumping into the void. And so people would go there because that's where people would get their wings. That's where their big ideas would come. But it would require this kind of courageousness to step into the devotional field and then surrender. And if you stayed on the side of the abysmal too long, you forgot your name, you forgot why you came there. It's like you forgot your purpose. You're just like fated to this existence instead of I'm enacting the destiny that's within me to become something more than what we've seen before. That's like the nature of life is that it wants to move us along into this like form of order that hasn't been experienced yet. And so that's exactly what it is. It's like it's this intelligent field, but if we struggle against it, then there's these little seeds of like in the I Ching they call it misery. That's it's like they're not playing around. So whatever that means, like, not to soften it, but just that's the language that they use, is that there's seeds of misfortune and half-heartedness, and there are seeds of synchronicity and destiny and power once we're able to be in the field of devotion with ourselves. And it doesn't even require perfection. Like you can come, even if you come half-hearted, if there's a little opening, it's like that's where the goodness gets in, and then it just increases its hold with you and for you.
Oh, tell me in your pathway of service and supporting other human beings, like what do you think are like the resistances or the blocks that you see we have or humans can have, um, where when we're like, I don't have this devotion, I guess, like maybe that's not for me. Like how do you begin to kind of go in and support there?
Well, I feel like we're all devoted to a lot of things, and that we're like actually the human spirit is devotional. So I think
Ah.
just start there. It just depends on like what you're devoted to and if it brings about good things in your life. It's like if you're devoted to the storyline that, so I have a friend, I'm going to call her out because she probably won't listen to this, but she she's devoted to this story about herself that she's so intimidating that men can't like her. She is devoted. It's like every person this comes up with, and I'm like, girl, listen, I'm just as shiny and bright, but I don't carry this story, so it's not reflected back to me. And the men that I meet, they're like, oh, a powerful woman, like, yes. So like we can be devoted to these stories that inadvertently keep us safe, keep us away from what we want. That is a form of devotion. And so it's just like taking that and turning that lens towards, for some reason, this is what's coming to my mind, but it's the Julia Cameron who did the book, The Artist Way. And in it, she talks about creativity in this like really specific way. It's so good. But one of the things she says is that she refers to God as good, orderly design. And it's like that's where we want to place our lens. And I feel like it's not that we aren't capable of devotion, it's that we're devoted to the wrong things. And so having a practice that bears fruit in your life and not just like chaos and I can't find someone because I'm too powerful. It's like, wouldn't you like to put your devotion towards something that bears the fruit that you want to taste? So it's just about shifting the lens slightly towards good orderly design.
Hmm. Yeah. I hadn't thought about putting devotion on a phrasing that I've come into around. I think when you come to unshaming, when the story of shame becomes less compelling to you.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, this is we can be devoted to shame, you know? Whew. Yeah, it really is a liberation, to use a word you brought up earlier, to get out of that pathway and into the devotional pathway that bears the fruit, like you're speaking to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so has it been your meditations on devotion that led to your idea for Wifey?
I think it's like I've mastered half-heartedness in my life in a lot of ways, protecting myself, um, sort of taking on too much can also be a form of non-commitment. And so I've dabbled with all of that, and I know that road well. And so as I've been serving people and working with people, it's like, no, it's not that you're not this thing. It's like just this piece needs to lock in. And so for me, this is the primer for all other things, really. It's like you can take a course, but if you're not devoted to it, you're not going to get anything out of it. Even if it's the most amazing course, the instructor is so alive and lit up about what she's saying or doing or this person is, it's like without this, this little thing turned on inside of you, fate and destiny again. And it's not like either or. It's like fate is walking you to the door of your destiny. So it's not like, oh, F you, fate, hate fate. It's like, no, that's a part of the mechanism that gets you to authentic choice and real presence. And again, it's not that there's no challenges. I think in our minds, we do this super polarizing thing often, and we don't allow ourselves to be messy and human and still be devoted. And I think I've mastered how to be messy, human, and devoted, and I still get to taste the fruits of that. And so part of it was like walking through the path of half-heartedness and then being able to easily recognize when someone's halfway in, halfway out for whatever reason. It's like everything that's worth doing is worth going all in on, because this is like more of how the bros would say it, but like fail fast. Like success is just a bunch of tons of failures. Like when I fall off the slack line, I'm like, yes, yes. And yeah, I feel like I went on a tangent, but I hope I pulled the thread of what we were trying to uncover.
Hmm. It's so intense, to go all in. And
And yet it's the only way.
yeah.
It's like, how do we trust fall with life? How do
Yeah.
we, and it's like the shore, there's a reason for the shore. It's like we will get stuck to the fence and we'll get stuck in a form of bardo, which is, a little bit in, a little bit out. Like the way to touch and taste like the nature of life that we really want to experience requires, and the thing about it is like also the thing with the gene keys is like desire is the 30th gene key. So gene key 29 is programmed with desire. And actually in Richard Rudd's cosmology, desire is the shadow, not to be avoided, but to sort of let your desire, like go satiate your desires and see where they lead you. Their desires are often kind of like it's like the lessons we learned through like the extremely hot guy that we're just like we just lose ourselves and we think I've got to go over there and be with that, and then we learn all those lessons from desire. If we're fully committed to those 7 days, that one moment, then that desire leads us to something that's more heartful and more light and more rapturous. And that's the journey of desire, is that it's there to be alchemized. So I don't know, I went on a tangent, but that felt important to kind of add into the conversation that we're having, because all in doesn't always mean 7 years or more. Like that's the cycle that he refers to as the full level of commitment. So, oh, here's the thing, patterns. So this is when if you leave a relationship prematurely, or something that wanted to guide you, the desire wanted to show you several things, and you didn't make it through that desire, you're going to go and date a different person that looks different but is that exact lesson, because you haven't gotten to the bottom of it. So there is this like intelligence that is desire, that is devotion, that is miracles. There's this intelligence to them. And if we can jump into the void and surrender, obviously, if with relationships or any sort of like physical, whatever abuse, contract over. But a lot of us go and recreate our patterns because they haven't played out fully and we haven't like learned the lesson. So the pattern recognition will come in when we're half-hearted.
Mhm. Wow. That really helps to just relax the shame around, oh, I'm doing this again, how did I get stuck here again? That 7 years is a Saturn square, so it's a Saturnian
Okay.
wisdom there. And I'm realizing that you have been right. Right now you're in your Saturn opposition. It's like really coming into Saturnian peak for you right now.
Okay.
Devotion is a word I like to give to Saturn too, because we often think of it as discipline, which can be a rougher word to get excited about.
True.
But Saturn loves that like rhythmic showing up, the
Yeah.
commitment.
Yeah.
Um, Plus, Venus has been um, stationing direct right across from your Saturn as well. So there's this kind of Venusian support to your whole creative period right now with Saturn as you're bringing this through.
I like that. That's good to know, because I love I often describe myself as like half house cat, half wild cat. And like my normal day to day, I like to have structure that makes me feel really safe to like actually be extremely creative. And then when I travel often, so I go out on the world and I try to release all that and just be in the void, like in the flight's delayed. Okay, here we go. I'm right where I need to be. So I like to like have both of those things, the like the Venusian beauty and love and prosperity, and also the like, let's do this. Let's do it again. Let's do it again.
Yeah. The structure that's gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. So, do you want to describe the vision for Wifey and like I love how each day um, ignites like a different way of coming into the whole larger framework. It's so thoughtful. So, feel free to just take up a lot of space with your inspiration and what you're visioning.
Hey, it feels so good to let the cat out of the bag. I mean, I know we're recording this early, but I've been like finding a way to tease it, and like feels so good to just be able to talk about it. And so as we've been in conversation, I'm like, oh, it actually follows. So day one is about how we move from half-heartedness. It's how we woo, it's how we step in. It's how we begin to acquaint ourselves with this like devotion, which can seem, it's discipline has a certain ring to it, and so does, like, I feel like devotion is idealized a lot. Like it's like how everyone wants to come work on the farm. My man's a farmer, until they actually, and they're like, "Ooh, take it away." So we have to like the first day is all about how we woo, how we step in, how we move from half-hearted to like that interest. And then day two is about union. It's about the union of opposites. It's about commitment. And that's the same arc that the gene keys take us on. So, who are we committing? How are we committing? Everyone's going to bring their unique spin on these sort of energies that flow through. And then So union, and then day 3 is a lot about legacy, like how we stay devoted to a path, how we stay devoted to an idea, how we stay devoted to our souls as they want different things and change shape and have different desires. So it's really guiding us from, that journey of half-heartedness into devotion, through each of the days and the speakers and what they're bringing forth. And one of the cool things is there's going to be a recommitment ceremony. I'm still it was going to be on day 2, but I think it might be on day 3 now, but people are going to actually be able to, show up in whatever attire feels ritualistic for them. It could be a white dress. It could be a red dress. I love all your red. I feel like that's like part of your signature. Really just like stand in front of themselves and recommit to themselves and their vision and their craft and their creativity. And so like, yeah, wifey is a fun term because I really feel like there's this like hypnotic spell around sacred union right now for people. And sacred union is very unsexy. Like it's very like brick by brick. It's very like removing the dross that's within you. Like my homie Richard Rudd says, you basically just have to fight until it's not in you. Like that's how you purify the well. And so, I too fell under the spell of like, oh, for a while it was like, I wonder if I do what twin flames, what's that about? And I was like, no, that's a little hectic for me. I'm very sensitive. That is not my path. And then like something about the idea of sacred union was like, oh, so intriguing. And as I've been in a very committed relationship for the last 3 years, I'm like, okay, I'm in service to this other person. They're now a part of my mission. And it's not so much about like a lot of the sacred union lingo feels a lot about like getting your needs met and this and that. And so I really wanted to use wifey and relationships as a bridge because it's so clear, terms like fuck boy and like where is your energy draining out and how are you a part of that? What does it feel like to put your calling or your creativity on the back burner or ghost it? I just think it's like a archetype or a metaphor that's going to really land for people. And, wifey can be man, woman, anybody. It's just about that. It's just about what doors open when you commit and when you're devoted.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that this process that you're describing kind of moves us, at least has moved me here at midlife, from a process of like, where is my path or which one is my path to like, there's only one path. It's the one that I'm on right now.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a daily devotion of showing up to it fully.
Yeah.
Turning towards it.
That's exactly it. The sort of the meta view of this all is like how you greet the moment. And that to me is also sacred union. It's how you greet the moment. And that's been a big practice for me because I think I've worn a lot of armor in life, and maybe that's some of the scorpionic sensitivities. But like in the process of like de-armoring, it's like, okay, if a few things are guaranteed, I know I'm going to die. I know everything's going to end, even this relationship I love, whether it's through death or whether we decide, to not renew our commitment to one another. It's like already done. So it's like, why wouldn't I be full in? Why wouldn't I try to meet the moment with my fullness? And why wouldn't I expect that would be a process that deepened? Like the more devotion I give, the more that devotion can feed me and the more I can meet a moment with fullness. And I think that's it's not a goal, that's the unfolding that wants to happen.
And it's bringing this conversation back to the beginning with the grief piece, because I feel that I never really fully understood commitment until I learned how to make space for grief, because what you're speaking to there, like
Yeah.
it means the acceptance of death
Yeah.
They go together. It's so, whoa, I have chills thinking about that. But yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot of astrologer friends recently, and they all have such a unique lens. And one of my friends says, I'm in this artist collective, and I'm always the one that's like bringing up death and like bringing up the like inconvenient truth. So it's like, yeah, it's perfect that we're back to the portal from where we started. And there's so much about endings that have been demonized. We like with relationships, we look at amount of time as success rather than presence or fullness in whatever cycle we were in. And it's like that to me is um important as well.
Yeah. My goodness. This has been so fun. Thank
Oh,
you so much for coming and speaking with me, hanging out.
of
I'm
course.
honored to know you and get to hear your story, and I'm super pumped to collaborate with you. Listeners will be able to sign up, learn all about Wifey in the show notes. So
Yes,
thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us.
of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to Ayesha Ophelia. Thank you for sharing yourself with me and with Moon to Moon. Listeners, inviting you to check out the links in the show notes where you can connect with Ayesha, but especially you can learn about Wifey, this symposium that I'm participating in, this gathering of leaders and creators so that we can feel fortified and learn tools and skills to participate in rituals to recommit to our devotions, to our offerings. So I'm really looking forward to participating. I'm going to be on the third day. I'm going to be part of the June 8th group, which is Sunday. And I'm requesting that if you want to be part of this, please use the link that's in the show notes because that's the one that's connected to me. And that way I also will receive a percentage of the sales, which I greatly appreciate. So thank you for your curiosity. If you have any questions about Wifey, I hope you will feel free to reach out and let me know. All right then. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. Have a beautiful month of May. And I will see you at the next one.